Welcome to Peacebuilding Initiatives, where we explore the transformative power of dialogue, cross-cultural understanding, and the collective empathy in building more peaceful and connected communities. I'm your host, José Barzola. Thank you for joining us. In today's episode, we're talk about building connections through travel. Our guest is Romi McPherson, a current senior at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, studying communications throughout her college career. She has been deeply involved in her sorority on campus, serving as president, membership director, and public relations chairwoman during her time in Greek life. In her free time, Romi enjoys traveling, meeting new people, trying new things, and spending time with friends. In this conversation, we'll explore how travel goes beyond simply just visiting new places. It becomes a powerful way to build meaningful relationships across cultures, distances, um, we'll also talk about what it means to have friendships all over the world, how those connections are maintained despite distance, and how shared travel experiences can create lifelong memories and deeper bonds. Hopefully, everyone comes out of this today with an appetite for wanting to go somewhere new, or checking in or reconnecting with someone they haven't in a while. So, Romy, thank you so much for being here today. It's truly a pleasure to have you here. To get us started off, can you share a little about what travel has meant to you personally and how it's shaped the way you connect with others?
Thank you for having me. It's honestly just been something I've done since I was super young. My mom took me on trips like right when I was born, and ever since then I've just loved it and I've just expanded and now I do it on my own and I go and see my friends and I've just always found it like my happy place. It's kind of like where I enjoy being. Like every time I get on a plane, I know that I'm going to be having a good day. I love the airport. I thrive in that environment. And every time I go somewhere new, I just like experiencing new things and meeting new people and yeah, seeing how I can experience new cultures and everything like that.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think one thing you really mentioned that kind of stood out to me is so this was kind of like nurtured in you at a very young age. Like your mom really took you to lots of
Yeah.
places, and um, so it's gotten you more comfortable with the world, and whether it's packing, whether it's what you need to bring, or what to be conscientious of as you step into new places. What's one of your most memorable travel experiences?
I think with my mom specifically, and like throughout kind of my younger years, it was probably going to Switzerland. My mom and I went to Switzerland when I was a sophomore in high school, and we went there because we were potentially going to move there. She was looking at jobs there, and it was one of the places she was looking, and they had us come and like tour schools and find a house and do all of that. We didn't end up going there. We ended up staying in Seattle, where I'm from. But that trip, just in general, kind of changed my perspective because I got to like meet the teachers that would have been teaching me there and meet people that like could have been my friends if I had moved there. And it was just like a eye-opening experience because I've only ever lived in Washington and then now here in college, but at the time like I hadn't moved before, so it was just kind of a new experience and her and I had a lot of fun. And even though we didn't end up going, like the trip was so worth it and I enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you. Now, I hear you've traveled a lot with your mom.
Mhm.
So when did you first start traveling with just friends without family to visit friends in different places?
Yeah.
And
I feel like kind of in high school, my best friend and I would go on small trips. It kind of started with like we would go to California or we would go to Oregon, like smaller little trips. And then after I moved to college, that was when I started going on my own trips because if I was already flying here, I kind of figured I could fly anywhere, if I could make it across the ocean. And so that's when I kind of started going other places with my friends from here to those places. And then my friends slowly started graduating from UH, and then it was time to kind of start visiting them. And they moved all over, and now I travel a lot to see them. And yeah.
that's one of the beauties of going to college. You get to meet people from different parts of the country, the world, and now you have an excuse to travel to those places, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I do,
Um,
honestly.
that's really wonderful. So, what does it mean for you to be able to maintain those relationships over distance? Because I find that some folks might, sometimes there's a mindset of, oh, well, I guess I'll see you next time you're in town. And then you were like, okay, who's left in my friend group that's nearby? But it sounds
Yeah.
like you might still be doing that, but you are also, not to say you're working hard, but I would say you're working harder than most people would. But you're taking time out of your whatever your schedule is to continue that, nurture that relationship.
Yeah, I've always just loved my friends and valued my friendships. And when I find someone that I feel like I really click with, I don't want to let that go, even if we don't live in the same place. And I think that started when I moved to college because I was the only one from Washington, like from my high school, that moved here. And so I didn't know anyone when I got here. And so I kind of like used my friends at home to like keep myself grounded after I moved here, like through FaceTiming them or talking to them. Like they were the people I like would vent to and talk to when like days were stressful here, especially at the beginning when I hadn't like established like my friends and everything. And so after I met my friends here, I kind of just did the same thing with them when they moved away. I still talk to them. My best friend, she lives in Germany, so we have a 12-hour time difference. And I talk to her still every day. We just either FaceTime in the morning or at night when it's the opposite for each other. So, yeah, yeah, I still want those friendships to be strong and I want to see them and just have, because we don't live in the same state doesn't mean that I'm not gonna like go out of my way to like talk to them and see them. So yeah.
Especially, I mean, like this day and age, I try to think about like to go too far back, but it's like you'd have a pen pal and you'd have to like write a letter, and for
Yeah.
folks listening, they would be like, "How old is he?" Like, but if one goes back to like the '90s or before, I mean, I guess you could pick up a phone, but there was charges for long distance phone calls.
Yes.
Where nowadays it's like you can send emails, you can message, you can text, you can do Zoom meetings. You can call long distance through various apps, through social platforms, and still stay connected. So there are multiple ways to, and I don't know if you use any of these methods to assist you, or is there a strategy that works best for you? I've heard some folks have like they're like, oh yeah, we just have this message chain that has been going on for years, but we respond when we can. Sometimes it's like, oh, sorry, it took me like 2 days or 3 days, but here I am, or just checking in 6 months later. Yeah, just wondering any strategies you have that we can learn from.
I think it kind of depends on the friend because I have some friends that are super busy and they work 9 to 5 every day and like our times just don't mix. And so those friends I kind of talk more through like text or I'll send them like things on Instagram and we'll kind of talk through that more. But then some of my friends I call them, like my friend in Germany, I call her, and we'll like use WhatsApp whenever she's out of her home country because when she's in Germany, she can use like FaceTime and all of that. But if she goes out of the country, she has to use WhatsApp. So, we just kind of move and change depending on what's happening in their lives and my life and where we're at. But sometimes we'll talk every day. Sometimes we'll go like a few weeks without talking if one of us is busy, things like that. Just kind of being understanding and flexible depending on what they're going through and what I'm going through.
Oh, no, thank you. And that kind of moves on to my next inquiry about challenges. Have you faced what kind of challenges have you faced in maintaining these long distance friendships?
Yeah, I don't think I face any challenges within like the friendships or anything. I think it's more just like missing each other when you want
Mm.
to be able to talk to each other, or like I'll have a moment where I really want to call her, like my best friend in Germany, and she's asleep, and I have to wait until she wakes up the next day to call her, or she goes on a trip and I go on a trip, and there's just no crossover times for us to talk. And I think it's just hard sometimes because I want to tell her what's happening in my life and I want to hear what's happening in her life. And it's just sometimes, our paths aren't crossing and that's okay. But
Yeah.
definitely just like sad of like missing her.
Do you, besides actual, because communication is so many layers to it, and the one that we most know of is like, oh, there's the verbal, there's nonverbal, but nowadays there's also like can send emojis, you can send,
Yeah.
a video or something that just kind of like speaks to you. I'm wondering if that's part of your communication style as well.
Yes. For sure. And we'll send each other like TikToks or Instagram Reels, things like that. And even those can kind of help because it's like even if we didn't get to talk for a week, like we still like are in some sort of communication. And I especially do that with some of my other friends too that I don't talk to on the phone as much. Those are kind of more of our main communication methods.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah.
mean, in my own experience, I find that if there's something that I like a little reel that's like really amusing, I will share that out just because, why not share a little laughter?
Yeah.
Never know
Yeah.
where people
It's
may be.
yes. And it's
Um,
always good to like get a TikTok or something and be like, oh, my friend
yeah,
thought of me when they saw
yes,
this. Like that's always
yes.
good.
Um, so some folks who are listening might be like, oh wow, she puts a lot of effort into like these relationships and these friendships. And you talked about a little bit about how important your friendships are, and what makes those friendships worth all that effort.
I think it's just I think it's just like what makes me feel good. Like every time I hang up the phone or I go and visit, like I always am leaving those conversations or those visits feeling better than when I got there. So I feel like it just like is good for my mental health and makes me feel happier and more fulfilled and I just enjoy it. So yeah.
I know with relationships, however folks want to classify that, whether it's significant other, a friendship, or loved one, that's pretty open-ended. Um, you need to nurture it. And I find that you're continuously doing that through keeping in touch, connected, having traveling to see each other. Um, have you learned what have you learned anything new about your friends while traveling with them? Uh, might you share like maybe a favorite memory of traveling with friends or visiting a friend in another place? Yeah.
Yeah. I think you just learn a lot more about like their day-to-day lives because you're spending such a like long period of time together. Like you wake up and you go to bed and you do all those other things. You don't just hang out for a few hours. And I think some of my favorite memories of like getting to know my friends is probably going to visit their hometowns, like where they are from originally. I got to go see one of my best friends, Taylor, in her hometown in Reno, this summer, and that was really fun. And then I also got to go see one of my friends, Logan, in Texas, in her hometown. And I think it's just like eye-opening to see how they grew up, meet their parents, meet their high school friends, and just like get to experience like kind of a day in their life. So I think that that's like mostly what I've learned from traveling with them specifically to their hometowns.
No, thank you. Yeah, I mean you're really digging deep into the layers, right? Because there's a sense of code switching we do when we're in college, the way we talk with our friends, but now they're they're bringing you into, not to call it their inner circle, but other facets of their life, which is quite fascinating. Which I can think, there's some friendships where like I know them in this context, and maybe if they eventually, get married, have kids, like I get to know them in that context, but I've never gotten to know how do they interact with like their parents or like, their friends that they grew up with, and so you're getting those extra layers, which is quite rich and special in so many different ways. I imagine it must be really hard when you have like a special event happening to celebrate you. You're like, who do I invite? Do I just invite everybody and see who can make it? I guess it's,
Yeah.
uh, but it probably makes those reunions even more special. How does so reconnecting through travel? How does being in new environments shape the way you spend time together? How any of these trips helped you reconnect? Also, what new perspectives? Because I find that especially in the world that I live in, I find that I can do. It's weird to say my job. I can do. I, I can be better at building collaborative communities by understanding the lived experience or in the perspective that people are coming from. So I wonder if you might share a little bit about any, what perspectives have you picked up along the way that assisted you in your own path?
Yeah, I feel like a big part of traveling with friends is you kind of get to see their perspectives on the new cultures and the new experiences as well as your own. And so, like, my friend that's in Germany, I went and visited her last spring for my spring break, and we also went to Amsterdam and Luxembourg, and we kind of traveled around Europe together. And it was cool because not only was I experiencing those new cultures and meeting new people, but so was she. And we could kind of talk about our different perspectives and what we thought and like the history and discuss those types of things and get on deeper conversations about those. So I found that interesting. And then I also got to talk to my friends back here who had been to those places and hear how their experiences were comparatively to mine and get to talk about the differences and just things like that were really cool.
I kind of get a sense of like you have, I mean, people write books about this stuff. I don't know if you've contemplated one or if you or you just journal reflections about your, there's a lot of wonderful lessons I imagine you're kind of taking away from these experiences that most people don't have the capacity to do. So um, if you don't, I hope you're, you know, takes a couple notes at
Yeah,
least.
I definitely
Um,
like to, and I like to journal kind of through pictures. I know that that is sometimes words can be more emotional or feel like more, I don't know, feel like more thought out, but I love to like journal and I love to collect like little things through the trips and then put the things in a journal. So like little napkins or little receipts or postcards, things I find, and then I can kind of have like different page layouts of different trips and like look back on those.
I love that actually. So one of the big things that lately I love exploring is how the art of keeping records or histories can be more than just written journals. So I think the photos, the napkins, I think is a true testament to the art of storytelling. I imagine if you were to just, and I don't know if you've, as you keep these journals or these collection of items, you've ever had to share them with anyone. Uh, how you would tell your story, and I imagine it might change every time because there's different emotions as time goes on. Uh, there certain memories might become a little stronger than other ones based on how
Yeah.
the relationship's been developed, I imagine.
Yeah, and in high school I was very dedicated to doing the journals and I filled an entire notebook full of these items and my trips and not even just trips, even just day-to-day activities, things I was doing at home throughout high school. I filled a whole journal and I still like love to look back on it and look through because I can kind of feel those memories just from looking at the pages again.
So you've been traveling for how long would you say? So you started with your mom when, what, like 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago?
Yeah, my first trip I was 2 weeks old and my mom took
Oh,
me to Hawaii actually. She took me here and my dad had a conference here and so we came here and ever since then she never stopped traveling. My mom has always traveled my whole life
yeah.
for work and also just for her own personal interest and she always took me along. She never kind of saw it as something I should stay home for. She always took me along. I'm an only child, so it was just me and her. And so she was like, why not take Romy along with?
Yeah.
She definitely would leave me behind when she had like work things, but whenever it was a personal thing, she would take me with and we would get to experience the new places together. And so, yeah, I've been traveling my whole life, I would say. Um, I remember at 6, we went and had a family reunion in Europe because that's where her side of the family is from. They're from Germany, and so we went to Germany then. So it was kind of a full circle moment when my best friend then moved to Germany, and now I'm going to visit her there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I would say like around 6 is when I like have memories of traveling for the first time.
So one thing that kind of comes to mind to me is like, would you have any advice for folks who, um, just want to get out there? Like like, so as you step into different places, are there certain is there like a checklist of things that you do? Is there, I imagine you're not just like, hey, I'm here. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, in my own experience of traveling, it's more like observation. How are things done? What are the protocols? Do you do a little research or yeah, just wondering if you have any tips for new travelers out there.
Yeah, I would just recommend looking it up and researching it before you go, seeing what the norms are there, seeing what other people have said to bring. Transportation's a big one. If you look it up, most of the time there is either really cheap or free transportation, especially if you're going to other countries. Kind of figuring out how you're going to get around, where you're going to stay, if you need to stay in a hotel or if there's Airbnbs there, you can kind of just I would just do research and see what other people have done and see, kind of learn from their experiences and yeah, or talk to people you know that have been there. That's one thing I do a lot is I'll talk to either my mom if she's been somewhere and I haven't been somewhere. I'll ask her what her experiences were like, or she'll ask her friends or my friends and just learn from what other people have done.
I know one thing that listeners are probably wondering is like it can get expensive, all this traveling,
Yeah.
especially with the high cost of what is it? It's the oil, the gas. Latest thing I heard was they're charging a little more for luggage nowadays. And any tips on that end? I
Yeah.
imagine you don't spend. It sounds as though you spend a lot of your earned work money on like traveling, unless you have other
Yeah.
tips out there.
I would say I grew up in a carry-on family, so we did carry-ons only my whole life. So now only in the last few years have I kind of started checking a bag. So I would say stick with the carry-on. I used to do like 2 week trips with my mom with a carry-on, and we
That's
would make it the
amazing.
whole 2 weeks. So I
That's
think just
amazing.
kind of learning how to pack conveniently. A lot of the times I go and I stay with people I know. So that's a big part is like not having to pay for housing or like a hotel. So like whenever I went to Europe, I stayed with family or my friends. And then when I have gone to my friends' hometowns, I stay with them in their hometowns and their houses. Um, so just kind of using your connections where you can, I would say is a big thing I do. And if you research before you go to a place, you can kind of find the cheaper methods, especially with transportation, um, booking flights in advance. I knew I wanted to go to New York for my birthday long before my birthday came. And so I booked my flight on Travel Tuesday and it was super cheap. So just kind of booking things in advance and mapping out travel and not doing it last minute, I would say, is my biggest tip.
Sounds like you could have a consulting firm of just like that's I don't know the travel agent or something along those lines. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, thank you, thank you. It also got me thinking as you were sharing, as you go places where you know people, you probably don't need to people are always like, oh, toiletries, but do you really need to bring a towel? Like, you could probably borrow a
Yes,
towel. Like, do you need to
exactly.
bring the soap and the shampoo and all the things that would normally, the liquids would require you to do a check-in?
Yeah.
Um, and especially, yeah, and Airbnb sometimes provide a lot of those amenities as well. And for folks who are listening, in my own experience, also, one thing I consider is like, will there be a washer dryer? Maybe I don't
Yeah.
need to bring 14 outfits for 2 weeks. I just need to bring like five because I can wash stuff and rotate and have clean clothes.
Yes.
So,
Especially if you're visiting people, I usually have the mindset where I'm like, they live there, they do their everyday lives, they can do all of their normal tasks there, so I will be able to as well. So I typically try to not overthink the packing aspect as much, especially when I'm going to visit people, because I'm like, I know that they will have everything figured out and know how everything works. And I feel that way when people come and visit me too. Since I go to school here, I feel like a lot of my hometown friends have come and visited me just to kind of visit the island. And when they come, I'm like, I have a washer dryer. I have all the things you would need. You really don't need to bring that much. Just
You're
bring
like, I
yourself
have
and you'll
extra
be good.
clothes if you need.
Yes.
Like, yes.
I'm like, you don't need to worry too much. I've got my whole apartment full. Like, you'll be good.
Oh,
So,
wonderful, wonderful.
yeah.
Um, so, um, I mean, I the next question is more around like, so building these relationships, the friendships. One of the things, what role does trust play when traveling together, especially in unfamiliar environments? You talked a little bit about the research. Um,
Mm.
I find that things are constantly shaking, changing and shaking up all over this world.
Yeah.
So you just always glued into the latest news? Is that what it is? Or like, yeah, just
Yeah.
any kind of tips?
Just being aware, I think, is a big part, being aware of your surroundings. I think, especially when you're going to new places, just knowing what's happening around you and being with someone that you feel comfortable talking about those things with. I don't just travel, I feel like with anyone. I feel like I usually travel with my closer friends because I find that things go smoother. We know how each other work and how our brains work and how we view the world. So just traveling with people that understand me and I understand them, I think is a big part of it so that we can go to new places and trust each other in those experiences.
Do you find that staying in smaller groups as opposed to larger groups is one better than the other, or?
Smaller groups go better, typically in my experience. When I travel with big groups, I've only done that for kind of like holidays. Like for my birthday in New York, I went with five of my friends, I want to say.
Mm,
And then when I went to Texas, we ended up having like all of our college friends coming. So there was like a bunch of us, and those were both great, but I would say that those were good because they were places we all had kind of been before. They
right.
weren't new places, but when I go to new places, I would say like one or two other people is kind of the good spot just for so you kind of know what each other's thinking and you can keep track of everyone and what make sure everyone's doing what they want to do and
Yeah.
yeah.
No, thank you. One thing that just reminded me of something I learned when I traveled to Japan. I so Japan is set up as a community where it's about small experiences. So actually, most restaurants are not equipped to handle like more than like a party of three or a party of four. So if you show up with like a party of 10, we can't put the tables together. Some of you can
Yeah.
now, the others will have to wait till those are done. So it's those types of logistics that folks sometimes don't think about. So, um, no, and I could see also for safety and being able to keep track of everyone, smaller groups are sometimes a little bit easier to keep track.
Yeah. Especially hotels and things like that. The bigger the group, the more space you need, and then the more expensive things get,
Right.
and it gets harder to split things up, and it just gets more complex the
Yes.
more people you have too.
So as you started traveling with mom, now you travel with to visit friends or they visit you, you travel with group of friends. What do you foresee as like the evolution of your traveling in the next few years or in the future? Or is
Yeah,
there something on your bucket list?
Well, I really want to go to Italy, and my mom and I are talking about going and visiting. We have family in Italy, and we haven't gone and visited them, and they've been asking us to come visit like my whole life. We've met them many times, but not there. And so we're thinking this summer we could go see them potentially, which could be fun because I've never been there, and I was named after Rome, and I've never actually been to Rome, so it would be I feel like a good mother-daughter bonding experience to go see that place, especially since that's why she named me Romy. Um, but yeah, so I think we're gonna do that. And then I also could see myself moving or traveling for work. I love to travel and I'm very comfortable doing it. So I could see myself trying to find a job that has travel involved or even just moving abroad for a little bit of time. I'm really open to like living and trying new experiences. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of see where the wind takes me and hopefully it's to cool new places.
Have you ever merged the worlds of traveling with mom and friends together?
I have actually. I was trying to think if I have. In high school, my high school best friend and I and both of our moms, we all went to California for our senior trip, and we got to do like Disneyland and all of that, and that was fun. Um, my mom is like gets along with all of my friends really great. Like my mom loves my friends, and my friends love my mom, so they all get along great. So I could totally travel with them together for sure.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm glad that there's been opportunities because I mean, for some folks, it's you compartmentalize. It's like that
Yeah.
stays there, or you need like lots of levels of like trust and or years of friendship before you're like okay. And it's not even like introducing someone like their significant other. It's just like even with friends, it's sometimes. Um, I'm glad that you've been able to bridge those gaps that sometimes
Yes.
exist. Um,
Yes.
have you? One of the things that I love, we talk a lot on this podcast, which we're talking about relationship building. Um, where does that? I mean, we talk a little bit about the communications and how you maintain that. But at the very intro, I talked about dialogue and the power of
Mhm.
dialogue. Um, and cross-cultural understanding, which you've definitely talked about, and empathy. And so I wonder if there's anything additional you might share as it relates to, how does shared travel experiences help to build empathy or strengthen your bond in unique ways?
Yeah, I feel like traveling with someone kind of puts your friendship on the next level and you have like a new level of trust. You've made core memories. I feel like if you've traveled together, you're making big memories together. For me, at least, all my travel experiences are definitely like my favorite memories. So, all of the friends that I have traveled with, I feel like really connected with them. And last summer, I got to travel with one of my best friends, Taylor, and her best friends. And I had met them many times and like definitely had great friendships with them before. But traveling with them, I was able to get closer with them as well, not just her. It was her graduation trip. So, it was her and like all of her best friends, but I got to meet them and get closer with them. And I think that I have like a new level of friendship with them through traveling that I wouldn't have had I just met them here with her. So I think you just you have like new respect and understanding for each other and you have like lots of quality time traveling together. And quality time's a big thing for me. That's been like my love language my whole life. So I always have loved just being with my friends and traveling is the best way to do that, I feel like.
And it sounds like it like nurtures, it like feeds you in a way to, from what I'm hearing and what I sense is, uh, in maybe lots of challenges you might face, whether it's academically,
Mhm.
professionally, you can turn to this like infrastructure that is this wide web of friendships all around the world, basically, is what I'm
Yeah.
hearing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a place or friend you're especially excited to? I know you talked about Italy a bit, but is a place or friend you're especially excited to visit or reconnect with in the future?
I think my next one that I'm most excited for is not necessarily me traveling to them, but since I'm graduating in May, all of my friends are coming to visit me here and come see me for graduation. And it's going to be all of my friends at once and my family. And I'm very excited for that.
How many
I'm
friends are
so
we talking about here
I
now?
just have three of my best friends are coming to visit, but
Okay.
from all different places. One from Washington, one from Texas, and then one from Reno. So they're coming, and then my mom and my grandma are coming, and then some of my family friends from Washington are also coming. Um, so there's about nine of us total, but I'm very excited for all of us to be together and get to hang out and kind of mix my friends and my family and see how
And
everyone gets along.
this is like the first time that they're meeting, I'm assuming, also for the folks who don't live in the same
Yes.
vicinity, but they've probably
Yes. A
heard of
lot of
each
them
other.
have met. A lot of them
Okay.
have met through visiting. A lot of my friends have visited me in Washington when I'm home for the summers. So a lot of them have met my family through there, but definitely some new characters meeting each other. So that'll be fun.
I imagine you've organized some hikes or something to like build
Yes,
some
we have.
memories together.
Yes, we have some beach days planned and my
Okay.
grad dinner, and just yeah,
Wonderful.
it's gonna be
Wonderful.
good.
Well, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your story with us. I appreciate your energy, your openness, and the spirit of just seeing the world as I mean, I think some folks will see it like, oh, it's so far away, but you've kind of been able to kind of bridge that, and you continue to do that in so many different ways. So today's conversation just reminds us that travel is so much more than just movement. It's about connection,
Yes,
relationships, memories that we created with others along the way, especially in a world that feels divided nowadays.
yeah,
Although I find that I could use that sentence on a yearly basis because there's always something going on. These friendships across cultures and distances can definitely help not only build empathy, but understanding, a deeper sense of shared humanity, an opportunity to see perspectives that may not necessarily be offered through your daily newspaper, your TV or online news station. So I always let folks know when they're like talking about a country. I'm like, well, have you ever spoken to somebody from there? You
yeah.
might learn a little bit more and be able to see another lens, see that. So, thank you so much, Romy, for your time. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Peace Building Initiatives. We hope this episode inspire you to seek out connection wherever you are, because sometimes the most meaningful journeys are the ones that bring us closer to one another. Thank you.